Long ago, in the heart of East Africa, there was a small village called Mwanza, nestled at the base of Mount Kilimanjaro. The villagers lived simple but contented lives, farming the fertile soil and drawing water from the nearby river. Among them was a young woman named Amina, known for her radiant beauty, sharp mind, and kind heart. Amina's parents, however, were among the poorest in the village. They worked tirelessly on their small farm, growing maize and beans, but they barely managed to scrape by. One year, a terrible drought struck the land. Crops withered, rivers dried up, and famine loomed over the village. Desperate to survive, Amina's father, Hassan, borrowed money from Chief Kiongosi, a wealthy elder who owned vast lands and livestock. Chief Kiongosi was a man of great wealth but little warmth. His face was lined with age, his eyes sharp and calculating, and his voice carried the weight of authority. Though he was respected for his riches, few truly liked him. He had no children or close relatives, and his servants feared him more than they loved him. When Hassan approached him for help, Chief Kiongosi agreed, but only on one condition: the debt would have to be repaid within 3 years, or Hassan would forfeit something precious. Hassan, trusting in the kindness of others, accepted the terms without fully understanding the consequences. But as the years passed, the drought worsened, and the family struggled to repay even a fraction of the loan. By the 3rd year, Hassan realized he had no choice but to approach Chief Kiongosi once again. This time, the chief did not smile kindly. Instead, he fixed his cold gaze on Amina, who stood quietly beside her father. "Your daughter," he said, his voice low and deliberate, "will marry me. In exchange, I will forgive your debt." Hassan froze, his heart sinking. Amina, though only 16, was too wise not to understand the gravity of the situation. She stepped forward, her voice steady despite the tears brimming in her eyes. "Father, please don't agree to this. I cannot bear the thought of marrying someone I do not know or love." But Hassan, desperate to save his family, ignored her protests. "It is for the best, my child," he murmured, though his own voice trembled. And so, the arrangement was made. The day of the wedding arrived, and the entire village gathered under the shade of the ancient baobab tree. Drums thundered, flutes wailed, and dancers twirled in colorful robes. Yet amidst the celebration, Amina sat alone, her face pale and her hands trembling. She wore a beautiful gown adorned with beads and embroidery, but it felt like a shroud to her. As the ceremony began, the village elders blessed the union, speaking of unity and prosperity. Amina listened silently, her mind racing. How could she live with a man old enough to be her grandfather? What kind of life awaited her in his grand compound, far from her family and friends? Unwelcoming. That night, Amina prepared herself for what lay ahead. As she entered the hut where Chief Kiongosi waited, her heart pounded in her chest. But to her surprise, he did not act as she expected. Instead of demanding anything from her, he gestured for her to sit beside him. "Amina," he began, his voice softer than she had ever heard it, "I know you are afraid. I know you do not wish to be here. But let me tell you something, I too have suffered greatly in my life. My wealth has brought me power, but it has also isolated me. For years, I have been alone, surrounded by servants who feared me rather than cared for me. Tonight, I offer you a choice. You may stay and help me learn to live again, or you may leave tomorrow morning, free of any obligation." Amina stared at him, shock coursing through her body. This was not the cruel tyrant she had imagined. Here was a man laying bare his vulnerabilities, offering her freedom instead of forcing her submission. Unsure of what to say, she remained silent, her mind racing. Seeing her hesitation, Chief Kiongosi smiled faintly. "Take your time," he said. "Decide what is best for you." As the night wore on, Amina reflected on his words. She thought of her parents, whose sacrifices had shaped her life, and of the villagers who often shared stories of courage and resilience. Slowly, she realized that running away would solve nothing. It might even worsen her family's situation. Perhaps staying and helping Chief Kiongosi find happiness could bring meaning to both their lives. The next morning, Amina made her decision. "I will stay," she told him firmly, looking him in the eye. "But only if we begin anew. As equals, not master and servant." Touched by her bravery, Chief Kiongosi nodded solemnly. From that day forward, the two worked together to rebuild their lives. Amina taught him the value of compassion and humility, while he shared his wisdom and resources to uplift their community. Together, they transformed the once barren lands around them into fertile farms, providing food and jobs for countless families. They built wells to ensure clean water during dry seasons and established schools to educate the children of the village. Over time, Chief Kiongosi shed his harsh exterior, becoming a beloved figure in the community. However, their journey was not without challenges. One day, a rival clan led by a jealous chief named Mwita attempted to seize Chief Kiongosi's lands, claiming that he had stolen them long ago. Mwita's warriors marched toward the village, armed with spears and shields, intent on reclaiming what they believed was rightfully theirs. Fearing for their safety, many villagers fled, leaving Amina and Chief Kiongosi to defend their home. Amina, however, refused to back down. Drawing on the lessons she had learned from her elders, she devised a clever plan. She gathered the women of the village and instructed them to weave large banners bearing symbols of peace and unity. Then, she led a procession to meet Mwita's army, carrying gifts of food and drink. Mwita, taken aback by their gesture, paused to listen as Amina spoke. "We are all children of the same earth," she said. "Why fight when we can share? Let us work together to build a better future for our people." Moved by her words, Mwita withdrew his forces, agreeing to negotiate rather than wage war. Thanks to Amina's wisdom, the conflict was resolved peacefully, strengthening the bonds between the two clans. Legacy and lessons years passed, and Amina and Chief Kiongosi grew old together. Their partnership became a symbol of hope and reconciliation, inspiring generations to come. Amina's courage and compassion earned her the title Mother of the Village, while Chief Kiongosi, once feared and despised, became a revered leader known for his generosity and wisdom. Before she passed away, Amina gathered the children of the village under the same baobab tree where her wedding had taken place. She told them the story of her marriage to Chief Kiongosi, emphasizing the importance of empathy, courage, and resilience. "Life will test you," she said, "but remember this: true strength lies not in power or wealth, but in the ability to change, to grow, and to love." And so, Amina's legacy lived on, passed down through songs, dances, and tales told around campfires under the African sky.